What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions podcast from Poughkeepsie, New York. I am your host, Alex Cuesta. You can find me on Twitter at _Cuesta30. Find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. And if you're listening, as always, thank you very much for listening. It is always greatly appreciated. But you're listening on one of the great outlets that we are distributed on, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or Spreaker. Thank you again. Spread the word. Let's get some more listeners. Let's make Sports Opinions huge. With me today, and I say that all of my guests are special, but this is a dude that if you want to be inspired, you got to listen to this man talk, because he's a dude that has never let anything stop him, and you'll find out why I say this, but he is my man. He's my freshman, Craig Leppert, the founder of Shadow Jumpers. What up, Craigie?
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. How's it going?
It's going really well. Craig, where can anyone find you on social media?
On social media, you can find me on. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not a tweet guy, but you can find me on Instagram at Craig Leppert. But more importantly, you can find me on Shadow Jumpers. It's just basically at Shadow Jumpers on Instagram and Facebook. You could, I guess, poke me, message me, wherever you want to do. But Shadow Jumpers, I want to give a plug to this really cool sports kind of Instagram account I'm following called Freezing Cold Takes. It's a pretty good laugh every day. They look back at the hot takes that people had over the years in sports talk and how they were so wrong. So it's pretty good follow.
Yeah, tell them to start listening to this podcast, because they might get a few already in the short time that we've been alive. But so on this podcast, if whoever's listened before, if not for the first time, we obviously Sports Opinions, we talk about sports, but thanks to shows, especially on ESPN, like 30 for 30, E60, Outside the Lines, and My Wish shows, sports is often not only what goes on on the court, on the field, on the track, wherever it is, but it's also what happens on the outside. And one of the things that Craig is doing, he made the Shadow Jumpers Instagram, and Craig has been going through something his whole life, and it's felt important to him to get this out. And Craig is a person that he doesn't let anything stand in his way from what he wants to do. I'm going to let Craig explain a little more what I'm talking about with Shadow Jumpers and why I say what I say about him.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. I formed this nonprofit program back in December called Shadow Jumpers. It's partnered with a great foundation called the American Porphyria Foundation. The Porphyria Foundation educates doctors and patients throughout the United States on different forms of rare porphyria diseases, which is a specific disease that we try to help is called erythropoietic protoporphyria. For the sake of this podcast, we can keep it short and call it EPP. But basically, there's about 500 to 1,000 people in the United States that have this rare disorder where anywhere between 2 minutes in the sun to maybe 10 minutes of exposed sunlight, they get second-degree like burn symptoms underneath their skin, and a lot of similarities to radiation. I was born with this disorder. My sister was born with it, and kind of grew up not really caring of what was going to happen and just taking risks, because I always thought the chance to do something that every kid could do would taste so much sweeter if I got to overcome while doing it.
Let me just stop, because I got to tell a quick story, because him talking about this now, I don't think anyone really understands. Now, to put it in layman's terms, Craig, his sister, they grew up allergic to the sun. So when you go out and, you're outside, you have seasonal allergies, you sneeze, and get an itchy throat if you're around cats, like, you get severe things. Allergies could be severe. Now, I can remember I was a senior playing football. Craig was a freshman, made the varsity squad because he worked his ass off. But when you first saw him, if you didn't know Craig, you're like, who the hell does this kid think he is? He's showing up, long sleeves, Under Armour. Now it's like 80, 90, 100 degree weather. Under Armour long sleeves, gloves, head to toe covered, visor on his helmet, exposing nothing. You're looking at him like, does this kid think he's hot shit? He's a freshman. And then you talk to him and you're like, and he's like, yeah, I kind of have to do this. I have this thing called EPP. I'm allergic to the sun. And at first you're like, get the hell out of here. And then he plays. Yeah. And I remember, Craig, one of the things I always remembered about you, and I'm not going to lie, whenever I'm going through any shit that I'm going through, I sit there and I stop and I'm like, I get this image in my head of you had this one set of long sleeve Under Armour top that was white. And
Yeah.
we had the tent set up for you with the water and everything. And you're out there, and I just remember we're doing a play on defense. You're calling out, and then you put your arm up to go say something, and through the Under Armour, I just see a big splotch of red on your arm. And I'm like, shit, he's got to be in pain. I think at that point, me and Calvin Zawacki literally grabbed you and dragged you to the tent mid-play, and you were going, no, I could do it. And we're like, you stay here. Now, that just gives you a small glimpse at the person that Craig is. And like I said, this goes outside of just sports, but Craig made Shadow Jumpers to highlight kids and people like him, like his sister, that haven't let these types of things stop him. So I'm going to let you do a little more explanation, but I had to share that story just so everyone can understand who they're talking to.
I remember that. I do remember I got thrown off, but I snuck back in like 2 plays later.
You always did.
But me and my sister grew up with it, and we got the name Shadow Jumpers because we would go on family vacations, and my parents were always really cool. They would never like appease us or baby us. It was always like, if we want to try to do something, we're going to do it, and we would jump sometimes from shadow to shadow just to try to stay out of the sunlight. So kind of fast forward to now, I moved to Los Angeles. I worked for a talent agency because growing up, I just watched movies and stuff and stayed inside where everyone went to camp just to burn clock. And what we do now is we have this great nonprofit program that, highlights people and the stories that they go through, but also trying to help people try to do things outside. There's a great kid that's in Chicago that wants to play Little League Baseball that has our disorder, and finding ways that, can not only help him play baseball, but have him not stick out as much as like a sore thumb. And there's camps, and there's a great camp in upstate New York that we want to try to help out called Camp Sundown. It's a camp that's all at night. 2 weeks from now, we're flying a family from Kansas to Disney World, all expenses paid and all sunproofed as possible. And that's a little bit of, just showing and educating families on, you could do this if you did it this way, and just showing people and doing whatever we can to help young people try to do things in the sun. Because so often with this disorder, and sadly the community, the EPP community itself is very self-pity, sadly. Which they're great people, but self-pity, and then a lot of times not even wanting to take the risk because the pain, and the pain is very severe. I mean, there was that same year that we were talking about college or high school football. I broke my thumb, and I got burnt on I got burnt on the same hand from the sun, and I didn't even feel the broken thumb because the pain from the sun was so bad. So it's just helping kids realize that there's a risk to it, but it is so sweet to just do your best to try. Because so often we can do it if we just try. So it's trying to change the narrative on a lot of young people.
Now, and you've worked really hard your whole life. Like, you were in Manchester, and interestingly enough, you were on Mystery Diagnosis, right? You have an episode in, you were born in Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, which is ironic. I've never really fit the part of living in the appropriate weather place. I was born in Hawaii. My dad was in the military, and then we bounced around a little bit, and then we grew up mostly on the Jersey Shore, which makes no sense. And then
but at least we have 4 seasons. We have 4 seasons here, which makes it a little easier at certain times for you and your sister.
This is very true. And then I just packed up and moved out to California. So I should just live in Seattle. That's what everyone says. I should just move to Seattle.
Yeah, but you want to chase your dream. And I have to say, Craig is unbelievably talented, not only in sports, but Craig was also just unbelievably talented in music. He would go up on stage as a freshman in high school. I could never forget. He had so much charisma. He could dance like MJ. Now, let me mind you, Craigie's white. Craig is as white gets. And
I can't go in the sun. That's how white I am.
Yeah, exactly. And people joke around and say that they're ghosts and they get burned. No. Craig takes that literally. He does get burned. It's not a joke for him. But he gets up on that stage in front of every single person, all, the senior girls he probably thought was hot, put himself out there, would host our Hawkapaloozas, things like that, do dances, and was just an unbelievably talented kid overall. So... And he went to Syracuse, right, to escape the sun a little bit going up to upstate New York.
That's right. It was a lot of snow up there.
Yeah, which is, great and terrible, but at least there's a less sun in Cuse. And now,
Yeah,
like you
that's
said,
correct.
go ahead, Craigie.
No, what you say?
And now you've made your way out to California, and you're following your
Oh, yeah.
dream with film.
Yeah.
What specifically
Yeah, so
are you doing out there right now?
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I moved out here after college with no plan. I just kind of was like, I'll figure it out, and I always wanted to work in entertainment. I went to school for it out in Syracuse, and then now I work for a company called United Talent Agency. They're one of the biggest talent agencies in the world. I would say also like one of the fastest growing from where we were even 2 years ago. We represent Harrison Ford, Channing Tatum, everyone you could think of. We passed the mom test where you say you're working on stuff, and my mom's like, oh my God, I know that person, or I know that thing. I'm an
That's the
assistant
most
there.
important test. The most important
That's
test is
right.
the mom test.
That's
And shout
right.
out to your mom
I'm
and dad. Your mom and dad are unbelievable people. Your family's unbelievable people. Your extended family, the Bongiovannis, I love them too. So
Yes.
Craig just comes from a great line of human beings, and you can hear it in the way that he talks and just how much. He's an awesome dude. I know I sound like a schoolgirl, like gushing over Usher when he was popular, but seriously, Craigie's that dude.
Yeah, you're not too bad yourself, Jay. You're the dad now, so I look up to you.
I am the dad. So we'll jump back to Shadow Jumpers, and I do have to say, since you're working and you represent Channing Tatum, when that Gambit screenplay comes out, I better get an early release.
Oh, you know it. Oh, you know it. If I only could tell you all the behind the scenes and stuff that you hear from just walking around the halls, but it's
Well,
yeah,
I'm not going to
great.
put
It's
you. I'm not going to put you in a bad spot with your job, even though I doubt anyone from there is going to listen. But still, if they do, I'm not going to put you on blast. But
It's okay. I work in the alternative space. So we're big with like docs and reality TV and sports. So I'm far away from Channing, so we're good. Don't worry, we're good.
So back to Shadow Jumpers. If somebody like me, who's not a part of the EPP community, even though I feel like I am, knowing you so well, knowing your family so well, I've always supported any cause in you. How can someone get involved on the outside looking in to try and, help people with EEP? Because I think the Manchester community was very good with you and your sister and accepting you both. And, we never had lights on our sports field. Your dad worked his ass off to help get lights there, and Manchester was willing to do that. So we can have night games so you can play more unaffected. So what can we do to try and help out Shadow Jumpers? How can people get involved?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the best thing that always someone can do is you can always donate anything that you may see plausible in terms of like a money donation. We're on a website called CrowdRise, but CrowdRise is Shadow Jumpers. So money is always, appreciative, and sadly, that's kind of the more money you raise, the more things you could buy, the more things you can help people go on. We make money off of apparel, so we're very fortunate. We got teamed up with Amazon Prime, so we're actually on Amazon that you could buy clothing from. It's mostly all long sleeves because we're, trying to stick with the narrative we have to cover up, and then really just kind of helping our brand in terms of liking what we do, and when we have events out there, and we do a lot out here in Los Angeles, obviously because I'm based here, but when we're back in Manchester, if we go to New York to do things like we intend to do, we'd love just having people come out and just help the cause. So kind of whatever people can do when we have an opportunity would always be appreciated.
So the basic long sleeve shirt, how much is that usually run?
So a basic long sleeve shirt is about $27.
Okay, so that's change
not
in the
bad,
pocket for supporting a cause like this, obviously.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, it's $27. You get like a hoodie for like $40, and it's all really good stuff. It's off of Amazon, so if you have a Prime account, it falls underneath that. So it's good. It's a really great cause.
Do you just search Shadow Jumpers in Amazon and your stuff will pop up?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll even send you the link if you want.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't even know you had apparel. I'm going to go buy myself one. I'm going to convince my wife to grab one as well. Hell yeah, we're going to get some.
It's good. I hope you like it. I'm a one-man team with that, so I design it all myself. So I'm learning as I go. So some of it's pretty funny.
Well, if you need help with design, my mama Cuesta, Adele, she's pretty good with artsy stuff. She did all the artwork in our house. So if you need help with something like that, I can hook you up with Adele. Maybe she could think of something and you can put your heads together. Sure, I'm in.
All
right, so and bottom line too, you said, you You want to help the community, basically come out of the shadows and really embrace life. Is that the end game for, Shadow Jumpers? Is it to really raise awareness and to let people with EEP know that you don't have to hide in the shadows? You don't have to only live at night. You can, with some hard work and some pain tolerance, live a normal life like everybody else.
Yeah, so like with this, there's two goals we want everyone with EPP to get to. I call it the -1 to 0 and 0 to 1 kind of situation. The -1 to 0 is kids that really are down about their disorder, really just are like kind of self-pity and upset. We find ways to get them more confident with living with EPP. Now that could be from, sharing tips on how other people cover up and what they do inside, more like pen pal, peer-to-peer story stuff. And then the second thing is to help kids go from 0 to 1, which is kind of what you might have described of what I was like in high school, of being like, I'm comfortable with what I have to do. I'm cool that I have to cover up. Now help me get an even playing field to do the things I want to do. So that's kind of the two goals that it would be: getting comfortable with your disorder and then helping you do something you've always wanted to do.
Now, when are you going to start booking talking arrangements? Because I really feel like this is something that you, with your charisma, you're very comfortable on stage. A crowd doesn't scare you at all. But just you are the perfect person to be the poster child for EEP and to really... Because I can be quite honest, I've told people about you, and they're like... I'm like, people were complaining, like, yo, this sun sucks. This is shit. And I'm like, yo, don't be mad. I got a friend who's allergic to the sun. They're like, get the hell out of here. And I'm like, no, seriously, look it up. It's a thing. But I feel like you'd be the perfect person to get out there and hold the mantle for EEP and have talking arrangements to give people more confidence, and that would be even more of a thing where people with EEP are going, if he can get out there and do that, then why can't I go pick up a bat and play baseball? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always been proud to kind of help get the word out for EPP with, being on Dr. Oz, also me and my family, where I think it's something I've always wanted to do. I kind of see that coming down the road that I'd like to do. Right now, for me, it's just being like, once in my head thinking of once you give a speech or once you try to rally a group of people, then is the you hate to say the brand, but that's kind of like the best way to sum it up. Is it ready for something that seems very legit and good to go? And while I would say, yeah, I still think there's a couple more steps we have to get to and grow before you feel kind of validated in speaking in front of a bunch of people. But it is something that I think we're getting to. So it would be exciting to maybe do that.
Well, whenever you're comfortable, let me know. I'll support it in any way I possibly can, Greg.
You're the man, dude. You always are.
So, we're gone from Shadow Jumpers, obviously something super important to you and a lot of other people. But now we're going to bring it back to a little more regular sports talk, because on top of being a person that wants to raise awareness there, you are also a gigantic sports fan, and which is good for me because this is a sports opinions podcast. So
absolutely,
we're going to start off. You have been a Broncos fan since I've known you.
That's right. Since 1997, John Elway helicopter dive.
John Elway helicopter, Terrell Davis, Rod Smith, Ed McCaffrey, Steve
Bill
Atwater,
Jake Plummer.
I can ramble off that team. That's how big and how good that team was for a little time. Now, you talked about Elway, you talked about Plummer. Plummer's an underrated quarterback.
He's my favorite Bronco of all time.
Jake the Snake, baby.
Jake the Snake.
Now, speaking of quarterbacks, right now, you guys have been in quarterback limbo a little bit. Osweiler was not the guy, is not an NFL player. You picked up a guy who, before last year, was thought of as just a backup. Case Keenum had a fantastic year. People point to that one playoff performance where, yes, did he perform? He did. But you guys picked him up. Elway has all the confidence in him. In Elway, I trust, because the guy is a very good eye for talent, it seems like. Do you believe in Case Keenum, that he's the player that can bring you guys back to the promised land?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at it in a couple ways. Of one being, like, if he's the Case Keenum of last year, then, like, absolutely, for the price that you pay to get him, 100%. And then if he's Case Keenum of, 3 years ago, is that better than Trevor Siemian? I'd say probably. And it's unfortunate that Kirk Cousins is going to cost, like, a small third world countries, gross GP, whatever it is, budget to sign. But yeah, look, it's a really good situation, I think. And then what's more important than John Elway is Gary Kubiak, who's behind the scenes now doing a lot of personnel stuff for the Broncos. He coached Case Keenum in Houston and Vance Joseph was on that staff, and so it seems like they have a really good idea of who Case is. And look, Elway hasn't been the best, but he definitely keeps plugging away. So if he's on board, it's a better than what we have situation. So I'm definitely not upset about it whatsoever.
He's definitely an upgrade over Trevor Siemian. I've actually never believed in Trevor Siemian. He's a very mobile guy, but I just don't think he has the accuracy to play in the NFL. Now, I have to give you one thing. I'm going to be rooting for the Broncos for a main reason that one of your linemen, Menelik Watson, he went to Marist College, Menelik Watson. He was a basketball player for us. But I used to hang... Are you still there, Craig?
Yeah, I'm still there.
All right, I thought you said hello. But Menelik Watson, he played basketball for Marist, and I actually used to work with him in the summer and hang out with him when he worked in the summers. Coming here from England, just an unbelievable guy, great dude. You guys have a gem on the line of Menelik Watson, and he's talented. The line is something that you guys definitely need to be better.
It's the worst. It is the main issue that we have. So even back to the Peyton Manning era, it just feels like we are just filling every hole and just figuring, just mixing and matching, and we've never been able to figure it out. And as bad as Simeon might have been at times, he got rocked up front. He didn't get a lot of help. So
he didn't. Now, if Menelik is healthy, that's been his bugaboo, is his health. If he's healthy, he's one of the better tackles in the game.
Yeah, Matt Freitas is good too at center.
Yeah.
But it just, Yeah, there's this team, our team is a lot like that too. It's been like, can he be healthy? Can Ron Leary, who we thought was a huge deal when we signed him last year, can he stay healthy? And then there's a kid that no one even talks about, a tight end out of Michigan 2 years ago that won tight end of the year.
Jake Butt.
Jake Butt that has had 2 torn ACLs and can be this great dude, and he's supposed to look good right now running around out there. So, yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of places where if we can just get healthy and figure it out, we could be okay.
Now, when you guys were dominant, it was in the years when Demaryius Thomas was having his breakout, Emmanuel Sanders was still hot off coming off out of Pittsburgh and being a viable number 2. I have seen both of those guys regress greatly, where Demaryius Thomas is dropping a significant amount of passes. Emmanuel Sanders isn't the possession guy that he once was. Does the fact that they're still your 1 and 2 scare you right now? Do you think that you guys need to do something to shake up the wide receiving core?
No, see, I do agree that maybe last year was a tough year all around. I think is that a factor of your playing? You have an off season where you're not really throwing with one guy, and why this year could be better because you know who the guy is. I think they're both fine. I like the 1-2 punch. I see Thomas though, the drops just break your heart. I see him more as the guy now that can be the big body and move the chains, and Emmanuel being the big guy down the field. But I think what's been missing is we just haven't had a number 3, which I think can really help. And I think that this year, I'm really excited. I have a ton of friends there that went to Penn State, so I watched a lot of Penn State football. We drafted Deshaun, I think it's Hilton, a great wide receiver out of Penn State, kind of late. And I think that he can be a great number 3. Not necessarily a slot guy, but definitely could take some pressure off the other 2.
Yeah, and I know you guys are probably looking for Cortland Sutton to take a jump. He's another guy that you guys grabbed.
Yes, there you go.
So
you did your research. I like that. Not a lot of people know that.
Listen, of course I do. I can't have you on here. Now, you guys are going in the running game. Devontae Booker is your starter, who I would never peg as a starter in the NFL running-wise. Now, I know running backs have completely changed, but you also picked up Royce Freeman. So, do you see Royce Freeman overtaking him, becoming the starter at some point?
Everyone's been saying that. I like Royce. He was good in Oregon. I think it's going to be kind of a weird morph where it's legit going to be running back by committee. I think a lot of people say that all the time, but I really do think it's the case. There's another kid too that I can't live this moment down. There's a kid named D'Angelo Henderson that we drafted last year.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
But this kid, like, last year was amazing in training camp. And I was like, oh, my God, this is going to be my, like, sleeper guy. So I had the last pick in my office fantasy draft, and I picked him up. Definitely could have picked him up just on free agency. Wanted to make a point that people knew I drafted him. And he was, like, a healthy scratch, like 14 out of, like, 16 games. So, but I still have faith in that kid because he looks great, at least, on the practice field. So we got a couple of good pieces. I was a fan of Booker coming out of Utah. I loved that kid. I just, it's one of those weird things, and it happens a lot too, where for whatever reason a kid just doesn't translate well to the NFL, and he's great in college, and I don't know why. But I agree. Where I don't think he's so great. Still waiting for him to make the jump, also.
Now, one thing, last year your defense seemed to take a step back. Von Miller was banged up a little bit, so that didn't help. Brandon Marshall, I believe, was banged up as well. But I look at it now, and I decided to pull up your depth chart because I had to see. You guys should be dominant again. Von Miller's healthy. Brandon Marshall should be back. Shane Ray is there in front of Bradley Chubb and DeMarcus Walker, Florida State. I love Florida State. DeMarcus Walker is an absolute monster. He didn't have a great year last year, but he really could get going. Bradley Chubb is going to be unbelievable along with Von Miller. You guys should hit the quarterback on almost every single drop back. That's how good your front seven is. Now,
I think, I agree with you. I think it's to line up maybe against some combination of Miller, Chubb, Wolf, and Shane Ray, who I am not a fan. I think Shane Ray is going to be a bust when it's all said and done, but I'm holding out hope because he was great in college, and it was fun to watch in college.
And he's on your team, so.
Yeah, and I like it. Yeah, you're right. But I think that's scary to do. And then in the back, I think Roby's ready to be the guy. That's why we let Turtleneck Man himself, Aqib Talib, go, which is fine. But I just think the thing that's always scary with us, and I agree with you. I'm a huge fan of Brandon Marshall. I think kind of as he goes, the linebacking core goes.
Absolutely.
We just seem that if we have one weak spot, it's at times we struggle outside of Brandon Marshall covering the athletic tight end and the super athletic running back out of the backfield position. So that's kind of, and it was good before because you play with five guys in the back because you bring Roby in, and now he's gone. So it's kind of, that's the only part where it always scares me is when we run into something like a New England with Gronkowski, or we have like the Steelers and Le'Veon Bell. It's how many times can you really play? How many times you really win those matchups? Because that's where we get hurt.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned Bradley Roby stepping up. You have Chris Harris on the other side, who's a bona fide stud. He's a very good number one. He should definitely be the guy this year. I think he's ready for that. Now, I see Tremaine Brock is right behind Bradley Roby. Do you think there's a chance that Brock overtakes him? Because Brock's a pretty good player himself.
That's fair. I'm really high on Roby. I've watched him since Ohio State era. I think Roby could be a number one. I think we should talk about if Chris Harris slips up, who's can Roby become the number one here? I think Roby could be a number one in a lot of places.
Wow.
So I really expect a big year. And look, favorite Instagram follow is Freezing Cold Takes. So we might look back on this a year from now and be like, what an idiot, Craig. But yeah, I think Roby could be really good.
But what scares me right now, I'm looking at it, I don't know who your safeties are. Justin Simmons and Darian Stewart, I've heard of them. But
Stewart, the root beer man himself, is he's pretty good. We signed him. That's why we signed him to a pretty decent deal. That's why we let what's his name go to last year to the Tampa Bay Bucks.
I know, I can't even think of his name now, but I know who you're talking about. No, but that kind of goes with your question. Can either one of those guys cover a tight end? Because I don't think if Marshall's tired and for some reason he can't cover the tight end. Can one of those two guys pick up the slack? Because one thing that my Jets have right now is we have Marcus May and we have Jamal Adams, and either one of those guys can pick up a tight end and run on their hip. That's a value that the Jets have on defense. You have confidence that either of these guys can do that?
I have confidence that Simmons can more often than not. I don't know about Stewart. So, yeah, so we'll see. It is definitely, you're definitely not wrong in having a concern in that. Speaking of defensive backs, are you sad that your boy retired, Revis Island? Revis Island is deserted.
It was bittersweet because, when he was good, he was great, and he was awesome on the Jets. But when you leave and you chase a ring in New England, of all places, like, Revis could have went to you guys. He could have went to the Broncos and won a chip, and I would have been like, cool, good for Revis. He could even went to the friggin' Giants and won it. It's not the Patriots. He went to the Patriots, and then he came back, and it had to be that he demanded to be a corner because he was more geared to be a safety at that point in his career. He could have made the Woodson transition, the Ty Law transition. All those guys made it, and he had to refuse to do it, and he just was collecting a paycheck. That's all he was doing with the Jets. And
like a lot of paychecks.
And it was bittersweet. Am I happy that he played his best under the Jets? Is he a Hall of Famer in my eyes? Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it was bittersweet. I thought he retired already last year. I thought last year was his last game. He made that announcement. So to make the announcement again is just kind of like banging a drum that's already broken. But
yeah, I can see that.
So for me, it's a little bittersweet. When we had him, do I appreciate everything he did? Yeah, because he was phenomenal. He's an all-time top 5 Jet of all time at his peak. Because there's him and Deion Sanders that are the 2 best covered corners ever, and that's it. So, but it wasn't a shock, and it wasn't something that's going to take him by surprise. Now, Jason Witten retiring, my wife Julie's a Cowboys fan. That actually hit this house, because Julie has a Witten jersey, and when he retired, she was like, who's going to catch balls on third down now?
Third down Witten.
Yeah, man, he was your typical tackle that could catch, because that's all he was.
Yeah. He looked like a kid growing out that catch with like his forearms instead of his hands.
Yeah, and it seemed to work his whole entire career. But what's your prediction for the Broncos this year? This is where we're going to get the ice cold takes from, because one of us might be wrong. But what do you see your Broncos doing in that division?
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule the other day. It's gonna. I want to say everyone in those 50-50 games, you always go with your own team. So I think I would say my heart says like 10-6, but my mind says it's gonna be like an 8-8, 9-7 kind of year. I think we're in a tough spot where I think San Diego's gonna be really good. Kansas City's really good. I think Oakland's gonna have a really big bounce back year, just because I don't think that there's no way Carr can progress again. There's no way. So it's like you have to play those guys, 6 times. So from that, you hope to break even, and then, I would say 9-7 to just meet in the middle. What about you?
I think that's fair. Now I look at your division, and the Patrick Mahomes taking the mantle year 2 with the Chiefs thing, it scares me because I was never high on Patrick Mahomes to begin with. He has a cannon, he's athletic, but I don't know a damn thing about him, so I can't predict that the Chiefs are going to be as good as they were under Alex Smith.
I said San Diego. I meant Los Angeles because now they moved up to us. Those jerks.
Yeah, they're LA. So, and talking about the Chargers, they're a second half team. They never get going fast for whatever reason. Phillip Rivers is great. He is a Hall of Fame talent without the numbers or the championships to be a Hall of Famer.
Out of 16 games, how many games do you think the Chargers will be down by 4 with a minute to go and Phillip Rivers has the ball? Maybe, it feels like that's every single game.
Maybe 15 of them. And the thing is, and a lot of the times, it's not his fault when they do lose. Now, I think they have back Keenan Allen, who, out of sight, out of mind, people forget how good that kid is. So if he's healthy, and they have their running game going, that's going to help them. Joey Bosa's a bona fide stud and a pass rusher who's getting to the level of J.J. Watt. So that's scary. But they're a second half team. They'll go 4-4 in the beginning of the year, or 3-5, and then claw back like they did last year to a 9-7, 8-8. So I don't know how scary they are. The Raiders, I agree with you. Derek Carr won't be as bad. Amari Cooper won't be as bad. They were my pick for the Super Bowl last year. That floundered.
Yeah, a lot of people, yeah.
So I don't think they'll be as bad. I honestly think and this is a big if Case Keenum doesn't take any steps back and your defense comes back to what it was during the championship time, you guys are an 11-win roster with 12-win potential. But
Ooh,
if things don't fall into place, you're an 8-8 team in my eyes at worst. So that's my range. So that I can't really be wrong unless you guys are awful. See what I do there?
I like that's a seasoned move right there.
But I will say this: I don't know if you know, in the past 2 years, I have made picks for every single NFL game in the preseason, and I've done scores, I've done picks, I've done everything in the preseason before any games are played, and I'm working on that. So I will have an official number at some point that I believe you guys will be before the season starts. So keep a lookout for that.
There you go. That's detailed commitment right there.
Oh, every single game I look at, and I put the scores that I think are going to happen, and it's time consuming, but it's a labor of love, and it's fun. It tests my knowledge.
Is that what you do when the baby wakes up at 4 a.m. and you just gotta figure it out? You just gotta burn clock.
Right now, I'm blessed because she sleeps basically 12 hours a night.
There you go.
She sleeps better than I do. So, but so you got your predictions around 9-7. I'm saying 12-win top, 8-win bottom. So I'm thinking 10-6, 9-7 is fair. We're probably right around the same area in terms of our concrete predictions.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So we're going to slide on to the talk of your town. How is it like with LeBron in the area?
It's oddly a little mixed. Just because there's people out here, man, that think Kobe was Jesus, basically. And no one, and just like it's always been a LeBron versus Kobe thing in this town. So now that he's here, it's just like a really weird. Like, some people are really excited, and obviously you should be because it's the greatest player in the world. But a lot of people are also like, fuck, I've hated that guy. So I don't want them to win.
Craig, you can curse. This is an adult podcast. You don't got to hold back.
Okay. they're like, fuck that guy. And there's been 3 murals of him that people have graffiti murals that they've
I've seen that
vandalized because they're like, this is Kobe's. Yeah. So the Kobe stuff, I truthfully, even if I lived here, I will never understand. I think
they're
wasn't
2 different
even
players, though. They're 2 completely different players, and it's the same thing with him and Michael. And I've said it on this podcast before. You don't compare Kobe to LeBron, Michael to LeBron. You compare Kobe and Michael because they were both score first shooting guards. But Michael's, LeBron is Magic. LeBron is Oscar Robertson. LeBron is a do-all 6'9" big man. Like Magic was 6'10", Oscar was 6'9". That's just their point guards, basically. So you don't compare them.
Even beyond the comparison, I don't get how some people here think Kobe's the greatest basketball player of all time. I don't even think he was the best basketball player in his own era.
He wasn't even the best. He's not even the best Laker. And that's the funny part. He's not even the best Laker of all time.
That's also been the crazy thing. It's LA talk radio out here. Who's the greatest Lakers of all time? And some people are put LeBron ahead of Kobe, and LeBron hasn't even played a game yet in here. Yeah,
that's weird. Now, is it also a weird thing? Because LA is obviously no stranger to celebrities. LeBron is obviously a celebrity. So is it kind of was it kind of a safe haven for LeBron to go to LA? Because he can walk around the streets of LA and no one's going to haunt him because you guys are just so used to seeing celebrities. It's the one place where celebrities can kind of be human and not have people rush up on them unless they're annoying-ass paparazzi. But for the most part, you're probably so numb to seeing a celebrity walking around at this point, are you not?
Yeah, it's a cool thing. I guess so. It's one of those places where I think the difference is if LeBron shows up to a club or a restaurant in Manchester, New Jersey, everyone goes crazy, and the place erupts, and everyone shows up. You go to One Oak here in LA, and it was the couple years ago I went to Bootsy Bella's, and it was DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin, and it's exciting, but no one is losing their mind. So I guess I'd say everyone's just kind of, you see it so much that it's really cool, but you're not gonna be rushing to pull out your phone and take a selfie and things like that. You're correct.
Now, it's got to be tough being a basketball player, especially one of the big men, because you can't hide. You're 6'9". You are noticed everywhere, and LeBron is a 6'9" brick shithouse. So he's not only tall, he's massive. So it's like
Yeah.
you can't not notice. Now, do you go and catch games in LA? Do you try to get to Staples Center and watch some games?
Yeah, well, what I do is I'm a huge Sixers fan. So every they come out here and they usually do they play the Lakers and the Clippers back to back, and it's usually 2 games in three nights. So me and my 4 best friends out here who are also Sixers fans, we go to both games, and then I go to it's kind of a weird thing where everyone in LA is like a transplant from somewhere else. So a lot of times you'll go and see the team that you like come in and play LA. So you go to Rams games. If you were to go to the Rams-Eagles game last year, you would have thought you were at an Eagles home game. So it's a lot of things like that. So I always try to catch when the Sixers are out here. Now it'll be fun because you'll get to see them play LeBron. I've never seen LeBron in person, so.
Now, do you see, this is why Craig is in entertainment. That transition was beautiful because we're going to talk about his Sixers. He's just helped. I don't even have to make transitions. The man helped me out. I need to have Craig.
You set me up. I got you.
You got to be a co-host because you're just good at that. But so we're going to talk about the Sixers. We're going to talk about the process and whether the process is over or not. I don't know. You kind of have a core 3 of young stars where one of them the jury is out on, but.
Who do you think's the third?
It would be Fultz. If Fultz lives up to his potential, it's got to be him.
It's Dario, man. Dario, the Muffin Man.
Dario is always going to be the guy that does a lot but doesn't get his true due. He's going to be your Manu Ginobili if you guys become a dynasty where everyone's going to acknowledge his greatness, but he's not going to get the Duncan, the Robinson, the Parker treatment, the Kawhi Leonard treatment because they were the more flashy dudes.
Him and Robert Covington will be those 2 kind of guys. I agree with that.
Covington could be your Robert Horry or Bruce Bowen.
Yeah, that'd be Robert Horry. Big shot Horry.
See, the Spurs comparisons. The Spurs are that type of team where you can find the comparison with anyone if you're trying to make greatness happen. But
that's right. And Brett Brown was the assistant coach on those Spurs teams.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Everyone talks about coaching trees, but the tree that's the greatest tree is anybody to come out of the Spurs organization. The Nets have Sean Marks. He was a protege of R.C. Buford, the GM over at the Spurs, and now the Nets are one of the best run organizations on the planet. They're making smart moves, and we're out of hell, and we have our own picks, and we're a destination for next year.
You have your own little process. You're just not calling it the process.
No, we just call it the grind. We have grit, Brooklyn grit. But so
D'Angelo Russell is going to really bring you out of the Stone Age.
Listen, I hope if he's healthy, I really want to see what he can do. Because I've seen him kill teams before. He can get hot. But if he can be a member of a good team, I don't know if he'll ever be the focal point, but he's a start. For what we've had, he's a start.
Yeah, it is exciting. It's good for I've been on that side. It's fun. It's fun when it's just you against the world.
Yeah, you guys were on that side for a decade, but now you're not. So the goal right now is to keep your guys healthy because Joel Embiid is an all-world talent. He's a tall, foreign version of LeBron in terms of the way he plays, but the man doesn't play back-to-backs. I'll never forget, he talks trash, which is fun, but he was talking trash to Andre Drummond. And Andre Drummond literally said, man, play a back-to-back before you talk to me. I've never missed a game. And that was whoa, that's real.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, also, when this is our first full season of him healthy, so we're gonna work him in. I don't care if it takes 2 years to play back-to-back. as long as we keep him on the court.
Definitely. So, Embiid being healthy, Simmons obviously staying healthy, and if Markelle Fultz can get over his health issues and play like this player he is, be the scorer that he is, because he's the 2 guard on that team, because Ben Simmons is obviously the 1 guard. You have Embiid as your center, Saric, and then probably Covington or Redick taking up that 3rd spot. You guys are a small team besides Embiid in terms of who you're really going to start.
We're a completely different tempo when Embiid's off the court and it's just those guys.
Oh yeah, they run, but Embiid he has to demand the ball and he can shoot threes, so he can space the floor. So if those 3 guys I'm talking about, if they're healthy, what are your chances at making a run against a Celtics team who pretty much, they had their way with They had their way with you guys. They exposed you guys last year for being a team that, really relies on ISOs, big time.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would say even with the Kawhi trade, I still think it's Boston's first, and then we're a really close second. I think the difference is just Brad Stevens is unfortunately just such a better coach than Brett Brown. I think you saw that time and time again when we got our butt whooped in 5 games, just coming out of timeouts, just different sets. Brad Stevens is just so much better. I still think Brett Brown is like a great coach. And, right now he's running our basketball operations because we don't have anyone because of Colangelo. But I think we're set up to be really good. I think this is exactly what you hope to envision like 4 or 5 years ago, was to acquire assets and a young core than to trade for a superstar. And then what you realize this summer, especially with the Kawhi thing, is you don't necessarily need to trade a bunch of stuff for a superstar because you already have 2 that you got lucky enough to draft through what you wanted to do. I think we're right there. It's going to be a lot. The division will be a lot of fun, playing Toronto a bunch and playing
Boston.
I think New York's going to be a lot better than what people think.
The Knicks are going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Stop it. They don't have Porzingis. Porzingis is out for most of the year. What are you talking about?
I'm telling you, they're going to be better. I like this. What's the Knox kid in the summer league? It's way too. That's like the hottest take. But I think, dude, I'm just telling you, I just have a feeling.
In the summer league,
I know the science says no, but I just have a feeling that like the Knicks are the kind of team that they're like the opposite of the Chargers. Like they'll come out and have like a good 4-1 start in the Garden and be like, we're back, and then they'll go on like they'll lose 20 to 27 games or like something ridiculous.
They'll have the most exciting 30-52 season you'll ever see, because that's their sky. I don't get if you have those rookies. I don't see if Knox can be Donovan Mitchell, but also Donovan Mitchell had a very good supporting cast. Knox doesn't have anybody.
I agree with you. I just have this weird. It's like
I don't like it. I'm a Nets fan. I don't like that feeling.
Yeah, that's fair. Sorry to say it to you. I hope you're good too. I just hope both teams have fun.
That is the political. You're out in LA too long, because that is the politically correct, super nice, get along with everybody answer.
Yeah, but yeah, I think back to the Sixers. I think we're like set up really good. It would be a lot of fun. I think we'll get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I hope we're in a situation where Boston and Toronto have to play each other in the semis and just beat each other up. But I think we'll take the step to we'll be in the discussion for the next couple of years, which is what you want. The sad thing is just the GOAT, Sam Hinkie, just doesn't get to see it through.
Sam Hinkie, he took the fall.
He died for our sins, man. Come on.
But you know what, though? I can guarantee the guy Sam Hinkie he's not bitter. I think he understands what went on, and I think he's just going to be happy if you guys are successful. Because he built that. That's him.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good relationship behind the scenes between management and still him. And, yeah, it's just one of those things. It would have been a lot of fun to see someone that it was that in it, like knee deep into it for a long period of time. It would have been fun to see, given now that you kind of have built it, what do you do with it now? It would have been fun just to see what he would have done with the pieces. So.
Yeah. So I have to. You obviously pay attention to Sixers more than I do. On the outskirts, I do. Is there any indication that Ben Simmons is working on getting a jumper? Because God, he needs a jumper.
Man, I mean, if he's working on it in between dates with Kendall Jenner out here in Beverly Hills, I don't know.
He better be. He better be. Kendall... I'm not as worried about his jump. When LeBron James came into the league, he wasn't necessarily known for like a jump shooter, and now he's out here pulling up from three, and you're very confident that it's going to go in half the time when he shoots it. So it's one of those things he's gonna get better at it. He posts all these videos on Instagram of him making threes, so I gotta assume it's gonna come eventually. But it's something you have to work on. I think the Boston series was a great example of a lot more teams are gonna take away the lane and make you try to jump or to shoot the J. So did you watch the video of Embiid, Jason Tatum, and Mo Bamba going one-on-one against each other?
One-on-one, yeah.
And Embiid just put his nuts in Jason Tatum's face in that one dunk where he bullied him.
Yeah. No matter what, Joel Embiid is the best follow on social media, and he's a guy that he just, for a guy who hasn't been playing basketball really that long, it is unreal how natural it is. Good for him.
So entertaining. Now, we talked about the guys that we talked about LeBron, we talked about Paul George and Kawhi. Now, is there any part of you, because with all three of those guys, Philly was mentioned. Philly was mentioned with LeBron. He was actually mentioned on this program one of the first times by one of the guys I had, Brandon Scoopy Robinson. Knows a lot of basketball guys. He was one of the first people to say, like, Philly's involved. LeBron is considering Philly, and this was during the season. He was saying that. He was one of the first guys to be touting that. I firmly believe that you guys were in. Obviously, you missed out. He went to LA. Paul George, Philly was mentioned that he's a possible spot for them to sign. Missed out on him. And then Kawhi, there were definitely rumors that Philly was involved in talks for a trade. Is there any part of you that is sad that you missed out on all three of those potential stars?
No, for two reasons. One is because today it came out that we're going to trade for Kyle Korver, so all is right in the world.
Yeah, King Kyle. He was a Sixer for a while, wasn't he? With the old the black and gold Iverson jerseys.
That's right. Come home, Kyle. And then the second thing is no, because I go through it one by one. LeBron would have been fun, but I think it wouldn't. If we do win a championship with how the team is now, it would have been a little less sweet to win a little with LeBron, because it kind of felt like he put us over the hump, and it's kind of like we've been on this journey, so it'd be cool to to do it without what kind of feels like help.
Mm-hmm.
Paul George, I will always be on the record, and I get in so many fights with this with my friends out here, I think Paul George is one of the most overrated players in the NBA.
Thank you so much.
I think he had a 2-year period when he was with the Pacers in those great Miami Heat battles. He was amazing, but I think that he's a guy that was the most sought after free agent at the time. But I don't even think he's a top 15 player, to be honest with you. So I'm happy about that. I don't think we needed him, because we have a guy in Robert Covington that kind of does the same thing. And then Kawhi, just the price is way too big. I would never trade Joel or Ben Simmons for Kawhi Leonard, especially on a rental deal. So I get why that didn't make sense. So I can live with it. I'm fine. I'm really happy with the way we're constructed. I love everyone on the team, from TJ McConnell, who is the great white hope, to everyone back again. I like what we got. I actually am a fan. I'm happy we didn't give up anything significant. So
two things. Paul George, I'm so happy you said that, because he was great before his terrible injury, and I think his injury definitely has slowed him down. He's not the defender he was, which was his bread and butter when he was in Indy. That he was a great defender. He was one of the rare guys with him and Kawhi that could guard LeBron and annoy him. Not stop him, but actually annoy him and make him work for points. He isn't that guy. He wasn't that guy in OKC at all. And I just think he's not as dynamic of a scorer. He's a jump shooter now, because he doesn't have the bounce that he used to have. So I agree with you. He is a completely overrated player, especially at this point in his career. And second, a quick story about TJ. My brother and a few of his friends, some guys I've had on here, Rob Planter, Matt Santos, they went to Philly to go see the Sixers-Knicks, where TJ sunk that game-winning buzzer beater.
There you go.
And there is, I believe there's a picture of both of them just sitting there with their jaws down. Like, how the hell did we just lose to TJ McConnell?
Yeah, TJ McConnell had a triple-double last year. Let that sink in. That's awesome. And
didn't Dario have like two of them? Don't you guys are just a team of triple doubles?
Yeah, we have a great little squad. Man, I really, it's just been so much fun to win like 20 games of basically the same team, and then just have it grow. Yeah,
it is nice, and I'm excited to see you guys grow the rest of the way. Now, you went from the cellar with that team to now greatness. Now, I'm hoping that our next topic will eventually get back to being great. Syracuse is a school that you went to, and
yes, great school.
They're fantastic school. They are New York's school. New York doesn't have real schools. We have Rutgers in Jersey, and we have Syracuse, and God knows we can't rely on Rutgers for anything. So, Cuse is our school.
Cuse is our school.
They did not belong in the tournament last year. Can we agree on that? They had no business being there.
No, we were 45th in RPI.
You were awful. You were bad. You had a terrible record.
No, see, that's the difference though. I will say this forever: is we were 45th in RPI, and then we play in the best conference in college basketball, the ACC. So I have 13 losses. Only maybe one or two of them I would say are really bad losses, and then I have a chance. And then I had like 24 wins or something. Don't quote me on it, but like a lot of quality wins. Yeah, for the most part, I definitely see why. I don't get why we got in and Notre Dame didn't. I don't get that one, but I wasn't as upset that we got in.
Of course you weren't that upset. We can agree to disagree because you're homering, but there's a reason why you got in. His name is Boeheim, and that's it. That's the only reason you got in, because Boeheim's exciting as a coach, and that defense is fun, and it did pay off. Would you guys get to the Sweet 16 with that friggin' defense?
Yeah, we're always gonna be a good tournament team just because the zone is so good, and kids, especially as you get on the bigger stage, you're not gonna, more often than not, you're not gonna hit the jumper as consistently, which is the real way to fuck up the zone. So
yeah,
we always go a little farther than we should in the tournament. A couple years ago, we went to the Final Four. That was a lot of fun. There's a huge community of Syracuse alumni out here. So when the tournament comes, it is like the most fun out here to go and just catch up with everybody again, and just feel like you're back in college at Chuck's, just slugging them back.
Now that's really cool. You have a community out there. Now, you guys, Boeheim did get in trouble with the NCAA a little bit. You were stripped of some of your scholarships. I believe this is the first year that Boeheim's going to be able to actually really go out and recruit hard again. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, if I think you're right, and if you're wrong, it certainly does feel that way. I was thinking about this when thinking about this call, of just like, Boeheim is so good, and I think you've really seen that the last couple of years, because we've had kind of a lot of grad transfers, a lot of weird kind of band of misfits for a roster that we've just really meshed and have gotten to the Final Four and the Sweet 16. We had our first real kind of big name in a little while that was supposed to come, and then he decided to decommit, and now he's going to join the G League, which was weird. But yeah, we kind of feel like we're back to full strength. We're excited. We're preseason ranked in some places as high as 20th. So we'll see. We have should be fun. But yeah, Boeheim is great. I had coffee at his house when I was in college, so it was pretty cool.
That's fantastic. So yeah, I think right now this is your last year in purgatory, and then Boeheim can really recruit. So I think this year is going to be another year where you guys get into the tournament because Boeheim's Boeheim. Not because you guys earned it, but because his last name is Boeheim. But you're going to make the best of it. Your Syracuse, that defense is good, but it's going to be exciting and he's getting older, so I don't know how much longer he's going to do it. But
yeah,
I think he's going to stick it out a little longer so we can get I think he might have another 5 years. I think he wants one more full recruiting class, because you guys aren't known for the one and done either, besides Melo.
Yeah.
And I think Fab Melo hung around for 2 years. Rest in peace, Fab Melo, by the way, which is super sad. No, I think he actually did pass away, which is sad.
Maybe that would be really sad. But he was a character, and
yeah, Fab Melo, he passed away last year, February of last year.
Oh man, rest in peace.
Yeah, he definitely struggled in the NBA, but yeah, no, he actually did pass away, which is sad. But you have guys like them who kind of didn't always hang around. But Boeheim actually he's very much like Jay Wright in Villanova, where a lot of his guys do stay for 3-4 years, which is nice.
Which is cool. It's a lot of, in Wisconsin's like that too. It's kind of fun too, because it always feels like Boeheim is like the focal point of like the team, because it's not to say he wants that or anything, because it always just feels like there's no main star that we ever have every year. I could just think back, we had in the last maybe decade or so, you have Johnny Flynn, Michael Carter-Williams, and Wesley Johnson are the only real names that come to mind, and even those I think are a stretch of like national prominent big stars like you get in Kentucky and Duke every year. So it's cool to just see. I think there's something lost to it, like at Jay Wright's too, where you take five D1 athletes, but really make them into one unit where they might be individually not as good. Yeah,
without a doubt. So with Cuse, were you tight with the basketball team? I gotta know. Were you friends with a lot of those guys?
I managed a bar on the side, like a bar at Syracuse, so it was a big bar that they all came into, and a lot of kids a couple kids in our fraternity actually were managers of the basketball team when I was there. So when you're like the way Syracuse was kind of set up socially was like if you were in Greek life there, which was really prominent, like you interacted a lot with a lot of the athletes because you went to a lot of the same things. So I got to know that group pretty well. They were good guys. It was just cool to like be on some level socially as a D1 athlete. So it was cool to go to places and you just see why you would want to go to a big school if you're a Division I athlete, and there's all the pros, all the pros and positives that come socially to being in those things. And they were always good. No one was ever really a dick, which is nice.
Yeah, that's pretty damn cool. Now we're gonna go on to the other side of
Dion Waiters was basically. If not, he appeared to be stoned the entire time at Syracuse. So.
Hey, listen, I think he was stoned for the better first part of his career, and he finally kicked the habit because he's playing like a monster lately in Miami. So good for him.
He would just sit in this booth at the bar that we had and just like be so zoned out and like holy shit.
That's awesome. That's a story to tell your kids. Like, hey, this basketball star, I was cool with him. He was always high. I think he was always high.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
On to a disappointment in Syracuse lately. Your football team. You guys have not been good since Donovan McNabb. What the hell? What the hell?
That is fair. I mean, you are what your record is, which we were 4-8 last year. But look, there's no moral victories. But we beat Clemson. We're always good for one game a year. We always seem to upset one team a year. We did it. Clemson was last year. There was someone the year before. Look, we lost to Miami by 4. We missed a field goal against Florida State that could have went to overtime. We were in the LSU game. It's hard to believe, for a half. We look competitive. It's hard to say that when you lose by 40 to Louisville, but we do look competitive. I like Dino, the coach. I love him a ton. Eric Dungy is like Mr. Everything. It's just we can't stop anyone on defense, and we want to play a fast tempo. And when you go 3 and out in 30 seconds, it's gonna hurt you. On defensively, because that sucks. There's a kid. I will say though, there's a kid named Tommy DeVito who is a 4-star recruit. He's a redshirt freshman. Don't know for sure, but I would say he's at least presence-wise the biggest recruit we've had in a long time. He's like the next guy in waiting. You won't replace Dungy just because he's a senior. He's been a player for 3 years, but. Yeah. Tommy's this kid that everyone is like going to be the guy. He's going to bring back Syracuse football. So kind of holding out hope. Eric Dungy hasn't played a full season. He always gets hurt. So Tommy should be the number 2. So we'll see what happens. But it's just unfortunate that it hasn't been a better program because even when I was there, and we were worse when I was there. I like to think, and the dome was rocking even for a shitty team. The dome was rocking for games. So if they turn it around, it's a place that wants football to be good. Syracuse, the town, has nothing else except for Syracuse University Athletic, and then minor league hockey. So they just are craving for good football. So I hope it happens. I do believe. I think this year has to be a kind of a turn the page year for Dino. But we'll see. I am a big fan now. So. We'll try. We'll do our best.
I'm definitely hoping too, because it's not only Syracuse and the Syracuse area that's craving good football. It's New York. It's New Jersey.
Yeah.
It's both of those two because, like I said, we have Rutgers and we have Syracuse. Those are our 2 major programs in the area. We don't have big programs.
And it's weird. It's unfortunate that they don't play each other anymore since we left.
It's stupid. It really is. That's a great between us, UConn, Rutgers, UConn, Syracuse. Those 3 teams, Temple. Those teams should never not play each other with the proximity.
It's like how,
right?
Philly has the Catholic 6 or something in basketball. It would be cool to have something like that.
Yeah, and Rutgers actually got a recruit, Arthur Satowski, who is the first legitimate Big Ten quarterback that they've ever got, and he's a 4-star recruit. He's throwing the ball like a psycho. I've paid attention to it. We obviously have, me and you, we both know Kevin Mallist coming from Manchester. He's a Rutgers alum. He's still very close to the program. Hopefully having Kevin on at some point. But it's something that it's another guy that, I think me and you, we grew up knowing Rutgers because we're from Jersey, so I think we're kind of privy to wanting Rutgers to play well. So
yeah, I mean, it was. I've at least maybe for you. It's funny to be on. I've gone full circle. So my grandfather has been a season ticket holder at Rutgers since like he was my age, maybe, but for a long time, and they were really bad. I mean, I saw that the Miami Hurricanes, Ken Dorsey team come into town and beat them by like 80 points.
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
And then I was there, and then I went with my grandfather and saw the Judge Ito kick against Louisville that kind of symbolized Rutgers being good and here finally, and now we're back to where we started. So it's great.
Yeah, it is full circle, but they have the potential to be a lot better this year. I like Chris Ash. I think he's a hell of a coach. He's a legitimate Big Ten coach, came from Ohio State. There's some good things happening there. They just need to keep New Jersey and New York talent home. That's the key. Stop letting guys like Quentin Nelson, a top 5 draft pick, probably future Hall of Famer, short conference talent, go to another school. Bring them to Rutgers. Like, what the hell? No Sean Moreno, Donald Brown, all these guys. Why did they not end up at Rutgers? But
yeah, I mean, I think it's unfortunate because one, you want to be super successful. One, you have to be super successful to keep, and you're on the track to do it. I think, dude, you go to the Big Ten. So the Big Ten now, like, you're legit. Like, you could definitely play for a national championship if you play the good football. It's just, I think the hardest part, though, especially the last 4 years, has been, welcome to real football now in the Big Ten, and it's been a brutal awakening, I think, for Rutgers people, being like, this is real football.
Yeah, and Chris Ash knew what it took coming from Ohio State, and I guarantee when he got hired, he probably looked at the brass and said, I'm going to need time. If you fire me in 3-4 years, you're making a huge mistake because you guys have no idea how bad we are currently and what we're going to need to get there. So I hope they keep him around longer because he's only working with so much. He got a big-time recruit finally. So we'll see. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for both Cuse and Rutgers to take steps this year.
Yeah, I hope so too. My family still to this day goes to every Rutgers game. I'm trying to. Rutgers plays Penn State in November or something. And I'm going to be home. I'm going to Syracuse versus Notre Dame in New York City, and I'm begging people to come with me, and they won't because they're just committed to Rutgers football.
That stretch, I think at the end of the year, they play Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State. 3 teams that are probably going to be playing for contention in either Big Bulls or a national championship. And for lack of a better term, they're fucked.
Yeah, that was the run. What was it Ohio State and Michigan? And it was they got outscored 88-4 or something.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. They only ran the ball. They couldn't throw because Resigno is not a good thrower, and that's just the bottom line. But Craig, it was lots of fun doing this with you. Thank you for coming on the podcast, my man.
Of course, man. I appreciate you having me on. If there's anything I could do, just let me know. It was fun.
Without a doubt. Now, again, he is the founder of the nonprofit organization Shadow Jumpers. Again, give a plug to where they can find you. Give a plug to where they can find Shadow Jumpers.
You can find me on Instagram at Craig Lepper, and then more importantly, you can find Shadow Jumpers just at Shadow Jumpers _ at the end of Jumpers on Instagram. And yeah.
So again, please support Shadow Jumpers, support EEP. Now that if you're listening to this, you understand what it is, you have awareness. Please spread the word, and if anyone you know has this, let them know that they can be them, and if they need an outlet, they can get in contact with Craig, his family. They're all great. They all understand it. So definitely be in contact. Again, I'm Alex Cuesta, the host of Sports Opinions. Find me on Twitter at @A_Cuesta30. Find Sports Opinions at Sports Opinion 30. Listen, like us, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and YouTube. Once again, Craig, thank you for coming on.
Always, man. Yeah, have fun doing dad things later today.
Without a doubt. And everyone, thank you for listening. See you later.